tiny Greek island has an extremely important lesson for leaders and for organizations, an island called Ikaria. A couple of years ago, while scanning the New York Times, I came across a very interesting headline. The title of the article read, "The Island Where People Forget to Die." It was written by a person called Dan Buettner. I was extremely intrigued. I proceeded to read this article. This article about a tiny island called Ikaria, which is in the Aegean Sea, part of Greece, close to Turkey, 10,000 inhabitants, about 99 square miles. It's been known historically as a place where people go for healthy retreats. And what intrigued me was researchers have proven over a period of time that Ikaria's inhabitants have a 2.5 times higher chance of living beyond 90 years compared to their comparable counterparts in the United States. Not only that, men in Ikaria live 4 times longer than men in the United States. And the reason why I use United States here as a benchmark is because it is the wealthiest country in this world, of course, access to very high quality healthcare. Not only do they live longer, but they live more fulfilled lives. The incidence of age-related diseases like Alzheimer's or dementia is virtually absent in Ikaria. I wanted to understand why it was this case. What is so special about Ikaria that makes people live this long and this fulfilled? I read this article and I proceeded to kind of figure out what is really happening in that island. And as I started getting intrigued, I wanted to also contrast what I read in this article with some of the usual parameters we use as society to define success. And here I talk about wealth. So in Ikaria, 40% of people are unemployed. And people who are employed typically hold multiple jobs to quote unquote make ends meet. In other words, wealth is not how they get their health. The resident summed it up best when she said, "We live extremely fulfilled lives and we may not have the money for luxuries, but we know what we have is friends and family." I tried to relate what I learned to organizations, and I wanted to find out these secret sauce of Ikaria. And as I was reading through this article, I had my aha moment exactly as described by the writer of this article. And there were 3 words that really struck me. It was purpose, it was belonging, and it was culture. The writer puts it beautifully by saying that without these 3, the story of Ikaria will fall apart. Bada bing, bada bang, right there, staring in front of our eyes, lessons for an organization. Now let me relate what I just shared with you as facts about Ikaria to an organization. Let's start with this whole premise about wealth and health. Financial indicators in an organization are not a good indication of organization's health. I would go as far as to say that past financial performance has no relevance or is not an indicator of future financial success. There are other things that probably predict this much better. Now we'll come to that. Also, if I were to relate a couple of other things that I read in this article about the residents having a healthy diet, having exercise regimens, I would relate that as follows to an organization. A healthy diet is like having a good strategy. You need to have a good input into the organization for it to be able to be successful. And an exercise regimen is simply, for me, ensuring the organization always has its eye on efficiencies and effectiveness. In other words, don't get floated and don't get into a situation where you're getting fat and lazy. Basic stuff, hygiene. But then let me go to the secret sauce. And again, I go back to these 3 words: purpose, culture, belonging. These 3 words at the end of the day are so relevant for an organization. Look at it from an employee's perspective and it becomes pretty intuitive. Why would I as an employee want to do that little bit extra for this organization unless I feel really connected with what they're doing as an organization? And not just for my paycheck, I would do it for something more. And why would I as an employee do that little bit more if what I do is not reinforced throughout the organization repeatedly. In other words, reinforcing the right behaviors in an organization and doing it because we want to achieve a purpose jointly. The two essential parts of culture, fostering belonging and ensuring an organization is successful because of these things. Ikaria has important lessons for us as leaders and as organizations. And in the VUCA world, these lessons will ultimately determine how successful you are as an organization. And I would like to end with how I began this series of talks. Without inspiration, the perspiration of your organization is just sweat. I would love to hear your comments and your critique, and you can post them at the bottom of this page. Or you can tweet me at the Twitter handle I mentioned here. Thank you very much.